2017, computers around the world suddenly stopped working. Hospitals shut down. Banks froze. Businesses went offline. A single message appeared on millions of screens. Files were locked. Data was gone. And time was running out. Governments scrambled for answers. Security experts traced digital footprints across continents. Behind this global chaos, investigators would eventually follow one trail to a single name. A North Korean hacker, Park Jin-hyok.
Breaking news, the FBI just
charged a 34-year-old North Korean hacker
North Korean hackers
for allegedly playing a key role in the cyber attacks on Sony Pictures, Sony Pictures,
computer programmer Park Jin-hyok.
Park Jin-hyok.
Park Jin-hyok is not a celebrity hacker. There are no TED Talks, no magazine covers, no dramatic courtroom appearances. What the world knows about him comes from one source: accusations made by the United States Department of Justice. His face appeared on wanted posters across the globe. But unlike most criminals, Park Jin-hyok was never working alone in a basement somewhere, chasing quick money. He was allegedly part of something far more dangerous, a state-sponsored cyber army operating from one of the most isolated nations on Earth, North Korea. For a country cut off from the world by international sanctions, traditional warfare was expensive and risky. But cyber warfare, that was silent, cheap, and it could strike anywhere on the planet without firing a single bullet. Park Jin-hyok became the face of this new kind of warfare, a hacker the world could name but could never touch.
The criminals don't see the suffering they cause.
Sehen Sie nicht.
If the computer that controls the oxygen is not working, the hospital will pay the ransom. Why? Because people are about to die.
November 2014. Employees at Sony Pictures Entertainment arrived at work to a chilling sight. Their computer screens hijacked by a glowing red skeleton and a threatening message. Within hours, Sony's entire network was crippled. Private emails between executives spilled onto the internet. Unreleased movies appeared on pirate websites. Employees received anonymous threats, warning them to stay away from movie theaters.
It all started on November 21st, 2014, when Sony executives got an extortion email from an unknown group, the so-called God's Apostles. Sony reported it to the FBI. But 3 days later, all hell broke loose when a group calling themselves the Guardians of Peace appeared on Sony computers.
This wasn't a typical ransomware attack asking for Bitcoin. This was something else, targeted, personal, deliberate. Investigators soon uncovered the motive. A controversial comedy called The Interview, a film that imagined the assassination of North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. North Korea had publicly condemned the movie. Now, someone appeared to be striking back. Thousands of internal Sony documents were dumped online, embarrassing conversations, executive salaries, even employees' social security numbers. The damage was devastating, not only to Sony's systems, but to its reputation. The FBI launched a full-scale investigation. Cybersecurity analysts traced the malware. Their conclusion was explosive. The attack pointed to North Korea. But this wasn't just a hack. It was a message, a demonstration of power, a warning that said, "We can reach you anywhere," and the world was about to discover just how far that reach could go. February 2016. Inside Bangladesh's central bank, ordinary-looking transfer requests quietly moved through the SWIFT network, the system that banks use to move trillions of dollars around the world. But nothing about these transfers was ordinary. Hackers had breached the bank's internal systems and were attempting something unprecedented. The theft of nearly $1 billion. 35 fraudulent payment orders were sent to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where Bangladesh held its foreign currency reserves. Most of them were stopped, flagged by spelling mistakes and suspicious patterns. But not all. $81 million slipped through. It was routed into accounts in the Philippines and Sri Lanka, then laundered through casinos and shell companies, disappearing before investigators could react. It became one of the largest digital bank heists in history. No vaults were cracked. No alarms were tripped. No one ever stepped inside the building. Just code and patience. Cybersecurity experts were stunned by the precision of the attack. The hackers had studied the bank for months, waiting for the perfect moment, a weekend when holidays in both Bangladesh and the United States would slow any response. This wasn't random crime. The coordination, the technical skill, the geopolitical target, it all pointed to something far more organized. Then investigators found something chilling. The malware used in the heist shared unique fingerprints with code from earlier North Korean cyber operations. A pattern was emerging, and the most devastating strike was still ahead. It began in Asia and moved west with the rising sun. A ransomware outbreak unlike anything the world had ever seen. Within hours, more than 200,000 computers across 150 countries were affected. The world would come to know it as WannaCry. Hospitals in the United Kingdom lost access to patient records. Surgeries were cancelled. Emergency rooms were forced to turn patients away. In Spain, major telecommunication systems were disrupted. German railways reported technical failures. Factories across Asia were brought to a halt. The malware encrypted files and displayed a message demanding digital payment to restore access. But the incident was never just about money. The total amount collected was small compared to the scale of the disruption. The real impact was far greater. Critical services were interrupted, supply chains were affected, and everyday life was thrown into uncertainty. Then came a turning point. A cybersecurity researcher in the United Kingdom identified a built-in mechanism that slowed the malware spread, helping bring the outbreak under control. But by then, much of the damage had already been done. The attack made use of a previously unknown weakness in widely used computer software, a vulnerability that had been discovered and later leaked online, allowing it to be misused. As security analysts studied the malware, they found similarities to code used in earlier cyber incidents that had been publicly linked by governments and researchers to groups believed to operate from North Korea. This was more than just a technical failure. It was a reminder of how dependent modern society has become on digital systems. And it showed how events in one part of the world can quickly affect millions of people everywhere. And investigators kept finding the same digital fingerprints, the same techniques, the same malware families, the same patterns they'd seen before. All roads led back to North Korea. And one name began appearing in classified intelligence reports. Park Jin-hyok. The attacks weren't random. They were surgical. Park Jin-hyok allegedly spent months studying each target. He didn't just look for technical vulnerabilities, he studied people. For Sony, he researched employees on LinkedIn. For Bangladesh Bank, he monitored transaction patterns for months. He learned when staff took holidays, when security would be most lax, and this was patient, methodical intelligence gathering. Then came the entry point, spear phishing emails. Carefully crafted messages designed to trick specific individuals. A Sony employee might receive an email that appeared to come from a coworker asking them to review a document. One click was all it took. Once inside a network, Park allegedly used the victim's own tools against them, legitimate administrative tools already installed on the computers. To security systems, this looked like normal IT maintenance. The hacker was hiding in plain sight. When the time came to strike, he deployed custom malware for each target. The Sony malware was built to destroy. The Bangladesh Bank malware was designed to be invisible. WannaCry was designed to spread like a digital pandemic. Park didn't work from North Korea with a traceable IP address. He allegedly operated from China. He used compromised computers in multiple countries as proxies. When investigators traced an attack, they'd find IP addresses in Poland, Thailand, or the United States. He registered domains using fake identities. He routed traffic through virtual private networks. He used cryptocurrency to obscure money trails. But despite the sophistication, mistakes were made. They reused code across different operations. Investigators found identical malware components in Sony, Bangladesh Bank, and WannaCry. They occasionally left Korean language settings in their code. Time zone analysis revealed activity correlating with North Korean business hours. These digital fingerprints connected attacks spanning years. This wasn't the work of a lone genius in a basement. This wasn't the work of a lone genius in a basement. It was a state-sponsored operation with teams, resources, and protection. And that made it far more dangerous. September 6th, 2018. The United States Department of Justice held a press conference in Washington, D.C. For the first time, they publicly named an individual allegedly responsible for years of devastating cyber acts. Park Jin-hyok, a North Korean national. Believed to be a member of a hacking group known as the Lazarus Group, operating under North Korea's Reconnaissance General Bureau, the indictment was sweeping. It connected Park to the Sony Pictures hack, the Bangladesh Bank heist, the WannaCry ransomware attack, and numerous other cyber operations spanning years. The charges included conspiracy, wire fraud, and computer fraud. If convicted, he faced decades in prison. Federal prosecutors laid out their case with remarkable detail. They had traced digital footprints across multiple attacks, IP addresses that connected back to North Korean infrastructure, malware with identical code signatures, patterns of behavior that pointed to a coordinated, state-sponsored operation. They had identified specific tactics Park allegedly used, how he registered fake domains, how he moved money through cryptocurrency exchanges, how he covered his tracks. The indictment was a message. The United States was saying, "We know who you are. We know what you did. We will hold you accountable." But there was a fundamental problem. Park Jin-hyok was in North Korea, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States, a country that doesn't acknowledge international law when it conflicts with its interests. The indictment was symbolic, a wanted poster for a man who would never stand trial. Park Jin-hyok remains free today, protected by borders that international law cannot cross, working, presumably, in the same cyber operations that made him one of the most wanted hackers in the world. His story is not really about one man. It's about the evolution of warfare itself. Somewhere in North Korea, hackers continue their work. Anonymous, untouchable, fighting a war most people don't realize is happening. The name Park Jin-hyok is known worldwide, but the man himself remains a ghost. And that might be the most disturbing part of all.